This is 6 Minute English from bbclearningenglish.com.
Hello, this is 6 Minute English. I'm Alice and today I'm joined by Yvonne. Hi Yvonne.
Hello Alice.
Now Yvonne, if I said Don Quixote, what would you say?
Ooh, it's a famous classic Spanish novel, but that's all because sadly I've never read it.
Oh, well don't worry because you're not the only one. In fact, Don Quixote has been described as Spain's best known but least read book.
So like me, most people have heard of it, but not many people have actually read it.
Exactly. But before we find out what the Royal Spanish Academy is doing about that, here's today's question. In 2005, the BBC announced the UK's best loved or favourite book. What was it? A. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. B. The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Or C. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Yvonne, what was your guess before you looked up the answer?
Well, I said Harry Potter because I must be the only person on earth who's never read it.
Me neither. Isn't that terrible? Well, we'll find out what the UK's best loved book is later on. Now, people say that most Spaniards have never managed to finish reading Don Quixote, even though it's a classic. What do you think makes a classic novel or book, Yvonne?
Well, excellent writing that people want to continue reading into the future. But it doesn't have to be old, although Miguel de Cervantes finished writing Don Quixote way back in 1615.
No, I suppose you can have modern classics. But the Royal Spanish Academy has been trying to get people to feel more passionate, more excited about this old book by using new technology. And what they're doing seems to be working, as the BBC's Nkemi Ifejika reports.
Bite-sized chunks for a soundbite culture. The novel was divided into 2,149 short passages. Any Spanish speaker can then pick a passage, record themselves reading it, and upload to the internet. A quick search for video of Don Quixote shows they've already done so. The novel being read aloud by people across the globe, the exact manner in which young servants used to read it when it was written. Never all at once.
So the novel was divided up into 2,149 short passages or sections. What Nkemi Ifejika describes as bite-sized chunks for a soundbite culture. Yvonne, can you help us out with that phrase, please?
I'll try, Alice. Now, lots of people can't or don't like to concentrate or focus on one thing for a long period of time. So they're happier with things they can do quickly, with bite-sized chunks of information, for example.
And what would you say is a soundbite culture?
Well, lots of us like to listen to a short piece about something rather than read about it. So we're a soundbite culture. For example, we seem to enjoy short, snappy advertisements that get the message across really quickly.
Yes, and more people on trains are listening to a chapter of a book on their iPods rather than reading it. As we heard, it's all about bite-sized chunks for a soundbite culture.
It certainly is.
Now, the Royal Spanish Academy is asking people to read passages of Don Quixote out loud, just as people used to when the book was first written in the 1600s. People never read the entire book all at once.
And most people don't do that today either.
No, they don't. But Spanish speakers from all over the world are recording themselves reading Don Quixote out loud, which means more people are learning about and can listen to this classic.
And that's a good thing. Plus, I think it must be fun listening to all those different voices reading it.
And lots of different accents.
Really nice.
What about other classics? Here's what a few of our colleagues had to say about what they've read, or rather, what they haven't.
I read a lot of Dickens, and I even read Moby Dick when I was at school, and I think I'm one of the few people who's ever read Don Quixote.
Well, I've read quite a few classics, mainly English classics like Thomas Hardy and Jane Austen. However, I did try to read James Joyce's Ulysses and actually carried it around on holiday with me for 6 weeks once, and I still didn't manage to get through it.
Aha, so we found someone who's read lots of classics and has even read Don Quixote.
Good. The Royal Spanish Academy will be extremely pleased.
They certainly will. although he read the translation of it in English. He's also read Moby Dick, an American classic about a whale.
Now, I've never been able to finish reading that.
Well, unlike many of us, our other colleague has done rather well, although she hasn't managed to finish the Irish classic Ulysses.
Well, that's not exactly relaxing reading, is it?
No, it's not really holiday reading, I think. Now, earlier on, Yvonne, I asked, which is the UK's favourite book? You thought it was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is a good guess, but it's Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien.
Woo!
He wrote the book between 1937 and 1949, mainly during the Second World War.
Now that is amazing. I couldn't concentrate long enough to write a book during a war. No way.
No, it's probably because now we live in a soundbite culture and need bite-sized chunks. Well, that's all for today's 6 Minute English. Join us again soon for more. Bye.
Goodbye.
That was 6 Minute English from bbclearningenglish.com.